Hey, so Revolver by the Beatles is turning 60 years old in a month, and I just listened to it, and I'm going to talk about it. Sorry, some people are yelling outside, so if you could hear them during my review, I'm sorry. To give some context about the Beatles is like they're one of the biggest and most influential bands of all time, and I love them. I think like I'm more into like their later era stuff than their earlier stuff, so Revolver is like a perfect like middle ground for that, and one of my favorite albums by them. Um, and yeah, so it opens up with Taxman, which is like a really fun song about how they're losing all their money to the taxman. Apparently, it was like 90% of their earnings or something. Like they were getting taxed super heavily because of how much money they were making, and it was pissing them off, which makes sense. And I think they made a pretty kick-ass song from it, and it was cool. It's then followed up by Eleanor Rigby, which is one of my favorite songs by the Beatles and a foundational one for me. Like it's one of the ones I found early on that was just like really cool and led to my like absolute love of the Beatles and like diving deep into everything else from them. It's just a song about loneliness, which I relate to a lot, and I think it sounds so beautiful and grand and cool. And I would highly recommend it to you if you've never heard this song. I think it's like probably one of the most important ones on this record. So yeah. I'm Only Sleeping is the next track, and it's about staying in bed and wanting to be left alone, which I relate to a lot. And I love this song. I love the way it sounds. It's probably my favorite on the album. It reminds me of John Lennon's Bed In For Peace that he ends up doing with Yoko Ono later in life. And I would highly recommend it. Love You Too has the sitar in it very prominently, and George Harrison wrote it. It's about like how days are fleeting and life is short and how you should love while you're still around. Here, There, and Everywhere is also about loving and just, yeah, loving and being loved and all that garbage.
Garbage.
Yellow Submarine is one of the most like important Beatles songs of all time, probably. It's very childlike and fun. It has Ringo taking the reins on this one. I think Paul and John wrote it and gave it to Ringo, though. I'm not sure. That's what Spotify said when I was on Spotify. So I always thought of this as like Ringo wrote this, but apparently not, I guess. Still really suits him, and I'm glad he's singing it and not John or Paul. I don't think it would have fit for them. And I love the sound effects that they incorporate on the song as well. I think it's very like thoughtful, and like they put a lot of work into this silly little song, and it still is like relevant today. I'm sure like some parent in the world is like singing this song to like their kid right now, and yeah, that's a beautiful thing. So She Said, She Said is another great track on this record, and apparently tensions were really high, and it was the last song recorded for the project, and Paul left during this point, so George did bass. Not sure if that's true. This is some shit I read on Spotify while listening, but yeah, I still love this song. I think it's pretty awesome. The emo lyrics of it all really like pull me in and make me love it even more. Would highly recommend this to emo people. Good Day Sunshine is a Paul song, and it's a little too happy-go-lucky for me. A lot of Paul songs are, though. Yeah, Paul's not my favorite member of the Beatles, for sure. But, it's still a good song. Yeah. Andrew Bird Can Sing rules. Really good song. Don't know what it's about. Bye. For No One is another Paul song, but apparently George and John didn't record anything for this song, and it's all Paul, and Ringo provided percussion and drums. Really shows how talented Paul is. Dr. Robert is the song I usually skip when listening to this album. It explicitly references drugs and someone providing drugs to them. And John Lennon has said it was like referring to himself as Dr. Robert. I thought it was pretty like cool while listening to it today, but I might resume skipping it as I go forward in life. It's just not really like my favorite vibe of the Beatles. I Want to Tell You is a George song, and I think it's about not being able to describe how you feel. And I thought it was really cool. Gotta Get You Into My Life is a really awesome song. You know, most people will interpret this as a love song, but apparently Paul wrote it as an ode to pot. You know, which is cool. And it's just like a banging song. Like, it's like a really good one. Tomorrow Never Knows is the closer for the project, and it's very psychedelic, and it's about spiritual awakening, ego death, and the LSD experience. I found it like a pretty weird ending for the album, but I don't know how else you would end this album. Sorry about the sounds from outside. But yeah, still a great song. So overall, I basically just said the Beatles are good for like 14 songs. But I stand by it, and I think it's like a 9.4 out of 10 for me, and I would highly recommend Revolver to you as one of the strongest Beatles albums that there is. And I hope you guys like it if you listen to it. I'm sure you guys all know about the band The Beatles by now. But if for some reason you haven't heard this, like, please check it out, and have a good day. Peace on earth. Thanks so much for watching, and yeah, bye.